I got 1 o'clock. All right, guys. Good afternoon. Denny Grimes. Welcome to Master Roleplay Question-Based Listening Conversations. It's October 18th. It's Friday. We love Fridays. And I see some regulars on, maybe some new people too. Matt, good to see you. Thanks for being on, Louise. And as you know, my voice is kind of gone, a little bit of a cold. And I hope it's just not painful for your ears. So let's get going. What we do is basically this, we're going to take our time. If you want to get into some of the conversations a little bit deeper than what we do on Recon is a daily show that we do Monday through Friday. There's that information. You can go to Recon, stands for Conversations Roleplay.com and join weekdays from 8:30 to 9 Central Time or 9:30 to 10 Eastern. So you want to play, get your hands up. Let's have a conversation, open forum, and I'll be here for a full hour if you need me. If you don't need me for an hour, well then we'll let you go. But let's grow a little bit. Who would like to work on something that would be beneficial to you? Who's first?
I think that's something we talked about working on something specifically, didn't we?
Yeah, well, we did this morning, and it was a conversation around a seller saying, I have a series of objections we've been working on 1 through 6. And I think it was number 4 said, I want the fee to be paid by the seller. Now, this is kind of a new thing for people since August 17th, right? And so we did a role play on that, and Matt gave a pretty good explanation, and there's more to unpack. Now, what's interesting about working and why I like Mastery on this call, because we go a little bit deeper, I do a little bit more teaching on the thinking behind it, the why behind it. And Matt gets into a lot more of this is what I would say. Now I can do that too, but very good at that. But I want you guys to understand the bigger picture, because then what you say comes to you easier if you understand the bigger picture. Does that make sense? So for example, who would like to role play this with me? And you are going to be the buyer that does not want to pay any compensation for the buyer agent. Then I'll do a role play. Then we'll let Matt do one, or y'all can do one too. I just want you to explain the bigger picture. So who would like to be the potential?
Dr. Lauren raised her hand.
So Dr. Lauren, all right, you got to help us get yours off the ground, okay?
Okay.
So, all right, let's go. You are now the buyer. I am in a buyer strategy session with you, and you give me the objection, what I have behind me. I want your fee to be paid by the seller, okay?
Yep, Denny, that's exactly right. I'm looking forward to the seller paying your fee.
Okay, so I'm rather than stepping into the conversation right away, I'm going to step out and just like freeze frame the buyer and have a conversation. So when they say that, okay, how do I start this conversation? Well, let me just get into it. Then I'll freeze frame and I'll give you an explanation. Okay, so I would go follow the same model. I'd isolate. So basically, you're willing to work with me to find your house as long as my fee is paid by the seller? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And do you have any concern or care? I've never asked this question. I'm throwing this out there. Do you have any care or concern of what that fee is?
No, as long as it's being paid by the other side, I don't care what you get.
So if it was 2%, would you have a problem?
If I'm not paying it, I have no problem with it.
What if it was 6%? Would you have a problem?
No, not my problem. I'm not paying it.
Oh, okay. Now, this is kind of an interesting thing. I've never asked that question, but that's the first thing that came to my mind, is if I'm probing, because now I'm going to be able to use that later, maybe in the role play. All right. So then are you there? Here's my second question. Okay, then are you instructing me to show you only the homes in which I am being compensated by the seller?
No, I want to see everything, and then can we decide, from there and ask the seller to pay for it?
Well, now that's an interesting comment, right? All right, so you want me to show you all the homes, and then if the seller has not been, if I'm not being compensated by the seller, then you want me then to wrap that into the agreement. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I would ask that you ask them to pay you, right? That's one of your things that you do as an agent is negotiate. So I think you should negotiate for your fee.
Well, at that point, I don't have a problem with anything she's saying.
No.
I don't
Great.
know that I need to have much more of a conversation. Matt, what do you think?
No, I say great. So what I'm hearing you say, as long as I can negotiate it into as long as I can negotiate it into the contract with terms and conditions weighted in your best interest for a price that makes sense to you, you wouldn't have any issues, regardless of what it was. She has confirmed it, and I just say, okay, great, awesome, let's go.
Now, did anybody else recognize the fact that sometimes when you get to the stop sign, you just stop? What's wrong with that? I mean, did you recognize you didn't need any more words? You were ready. Who wouldn't take that agreement?
Yeah, she's given me permission to negotiate whatever the heck I want. Great, awesome, I love it. I'm going for 10%.
Yeah, there you go. Well, let's go. Now let's take it the different tack. What do they say? Well, I ask you, and this is a question. So are you asking me not to orient you or make you aware of homes in which I'm not being compensated by the seller? Is that what you're asking me? I'll say yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, so now I'm thinking here a minute. How are you? All right, so here's my next question, Matt. I would ask this. Then what will you be doing with those homes?
Well, I guess the ones that you're not going to show me, in my mind, if they're not paying your fee, I can't afford those homes, and so I can't look at them.
All right, now here's the whole conversation switched now. What is the conversation going to revolve around? She already laid it out for us. It's going to revolve around, quote, affordability.
Right.
So if we can work on, this is where I'm going to go. If we can work on a plan that you could afford those, is the fee irrelevant?
If you work on a plan where I can afford them, sure, I think the fee might be irrelevant. But if you have to roll your fee into the offer price, doesn't that make us less strong of buyers?
Well, okay, so you want to be a strong buyer then, right?
Yeah, I want to win the house that I want. Sure, I want to be able to come in with the strongest offer on the house that I want, so that we make sure that we win the offer.
All right, so then if you're going to want, then that suggests it's going to be probably a desirable property, one that is offering, maybe you may have some competition, correct?
Probably.
Well, let me ask you then, would you not want to consider hiring an agent that could help you get the house? Because that's what you said you wanted, to win the house. Or do you want an agent that's going to work for free and you're going to lose the house? How about that question, Matt?
I might have lost it. I might have lost the dance. What is Dr. Lauren saying?
Now you're breaking up, Dr. Lauren.
Yeah, she's breaking up. Yeah, what were you saying, Dr. Lauren? So essentially
I said that if sure, if we can afford the house, that's great. But if we have to include your fee in the offer, does that make us not as strong of a buyer? And it potentially make me lose out on the house that I love.
Okay. And then Denny, you said,
I said, okay, so, well, if you're worried about losing the house, that means it's probably a desirable property. You might have competition,
Mhm.
right? And if you're gonna go into a competition, do you want an agent that can negotiate your behalf to win, or somebody who's gonna do it for free?
right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a possible tee up. Man, I don't know. I'd have to mull that over in my head a little bit. I don't think she's saying she doesn't want representation from you. I think she wants your help. She just wants them to pay it. And she wants the offer to be as strong as possible. So that's why she feels she doesn't want to see the properties that aren't offering compensation. Right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
we
to give you guys some background on this, I had a buyer where she felt that if the agent, if I was incorporating my fee and asking the seller to pay for my fee, that would make our offer not as strong as another offer. That's the background behind that.
Right. But he wanted you to help him.
Yeah, right. But and what Denny said kind of made sense, right? Either you get someone for free, or you get someone who's strong enough to be able to negotiate the best terms for you. So I mean, I don't know.
But who would be free and what define free?
Well, there'd be an agent that would, if the seller's not paying the fee, and there would be a broker out there that would probably do it for less or almost free, thinking it'd be a long shot that they won't buy that house anyway. At least they'll buy another house with me or whatever. Someone will show them the house for free. I promise you, somebody would.
Is it
Yeah.
worth distinguishing between price and terms? She's talking about price, but there could be favorable terms that would entice the seller.
Yeah, I don't want to get too bogged down in this, in this particular one, but I was just trying to approach it from a different sense to give you maybe a different avenue. For example, all right, let me just throw this out there. So, hey, listen, I'm on a listing presentation, Louise, and you're the seller. Hey, my friend will do it for less. So how would we handle that, you guys, on a listing presentation with a seller? How do you handle that?
First question is, did they start at that number or did they negotiate down to that number?
Well, I mean, they they negotiated down.
Oh, interesting. And how do you think them negotiating their own professional fee down would benefit you when it comes time to negotiating the price of your home?
So we've worked on that conversation over and over and over again, infinitum. So now I'm just going to have you take that same conversation, and on a buyer side, well, because the objection is if the seller's not paying me, maybe the seller's only offering 0.5%, and you want another number. Well, there's probably an agent out there that'll do it for 0.5%. So that's no different than another listing agent.
Yes. You're right. Gotcha. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt any. I see what you're saying. So you were bringing in a scenario of, I got it. Yep, you were bringing in the scenario of the potentiality of, but I guess where my head was is she's not questioning that she wants Denny Grimes' help. She wants Denny Grimes' help. It's where my brain was on the fact that she was focused on being as competitive as possible, but she did want your help. So I see what you're saying. You're just kind of creating another scenario of what if the objection, you're creating a secondary objection of the secondary objection being there's somebody out there that's going to do it for peanuts. Is that the person you really want to work with?
Right. And so what I'm attempting to have you guys do, because this is new, it's the same record on the other side of someone saying that I got somebody else that lists my house for a less fee. Then you're going to go on this, your value proposition, your skill in negotiating, etc., just like Dr. Lauren did. I think it's an easier it's an easier transition if you realize it's the same conversation, just scratch out seller and write in buyer.
Mhm.
Right.
Does that make sense to you guys?
Yep.
Now, what Matt brought up today, let's do this one more time, and if you got another objection to handle, raise your hand, we'll go into it. Matt brought up a great example. We've used it before, and Matt, go through the fact that, and this is the way I would do it. Say, have you ever bought a home before? And I walk them through it. Now, one of the things I see on role play, and maybe because you just want to get to it fast, you got 2 minutes, you're under pressure. I want you to be so relaxed that it's okay to ask several questions before you give them the zinger. You actually kind of lead them down the path. For example, really quick, I'll role play with you, Matt, and you're giving me this objection. You don't want to pay the fee. I'll say, hey, Matt, have you ever bought a house before?
I have.
No, if they say no, this is a different conversation. And second question is, was there an agent involved?
Yep.
Okay. And so in that transaction, this is question 3, who paid the commission?
Well, the seller, right?
Well, you're the buyer, you were the buyer, right? So I mean, did you pay the commission?
No, I didn't. I not that I don't know. I don't know.
Fair. Now notice you could get there faster, but I'm bringing him around to the zinger. Okay, well, where did the seller get the money?
From me, from the bank, but from me.
Then in reality, the final question is, then who paid it?
Well, I guess I did.
So if we can duplicate that procedure, are you okay with that? Now that's what you did this morning. You did faster, but that is a slam dunk of a technique if you take them back to the way it used to be. Go ahead, Matt. That's what you talked about today.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how far I need to expand on it, but historically for the past 100 years, the buyer's always paid the commission. It's
That's right.
just there's 2 sides to every settlement statement. So there's a buyer side and there's a seller side. The buyer brings the money, and out of that money, the seller's cost to close are paid and the buyer's cost to close are paid. So it's really just smoke and mirrors. And when, like, I always, the people that I always mentor them that you always want to be the knowledge broker. Knowledge broker is not just knowing what to say, it's knowing how things work. So I know how the contracts work. You're not going to out-contract me. You're not. I will do attorneys under the table on contract. But it's knowing this that gives you the power to then use the words, if that makes sense. So again, it's not knowing exactly what to say, it's knowing how these things work. And then you can communicate it effectively. Like Denny was saying, it's great to have the lead up question. I always phrase it like this. The analogy I give them is, you're a comedian. If you've ever been to a really good comedy show, they'll ask you a question at some point. They start with a point at somewhere in the show, somewhere between the beginning and the end. And like I've always said with my role plays, I know where we're starting and I know where I want to go. I just have to fill in the middle. So at some point in a good comedy show, they tee something up. They ask a question to probe you. You don't think anything of it. You know, they say something. And then they have these lead ups, these jokes in between, these little fillers. And then at the end of the show, they hit you with, as Denny said, the zinger, and it all ties together, and all of a sudden everything makes sense. All the lights come on and everybody's, roaring. That's what I like to do when I have conversations, is just knowing how it works and then being able to help them self-discover it. Walk them down the path. Don't just say, hey, you're an idiot, you've always paid the commission.
That's the point. That's the point right there. Now remember, if you're going to take notes here, and we'll go right to you, Tanner, or Dr. Lauren and Joe in a second. The buyer has always paid the fee, you guys. Write that 100 times on a chalkboard if you can find a chalkboard. The buyer has always paid the fee. And that'll
Yep.
help you. Dr. Lauren, you're up with Joe Barnes.
Oh.
What are we doing?
With Joe Barnes, I'm sitting at the table, seller, for sale by owner, whatever Joe wants to out, it's fine.
All right, you're gonna get, your earbuds are gonna drive me crazy.
Oh, are they? Hang on a second. Let me see if I can switch this out. Because I'm in the car, so it's letting me. Let's see.
Do it this way? You guys hear me now?
Maybe better, let's see. All
Which
right.
do you have more in your pipeline?
Which do I have more in my pipeline?
Yeah,
For sale by owner?
let's do it.
All
Go.
right, cool. All right, Joe, now that we've gone over everything, are you ready to put me to work for you today?
Dr. Lauren, I'm not sure. I think I need to give this a little while longer.
Okay. What do you need to give a little while longer? The move, the decision? Tell me more about that.
Well, I don't think that I'm ready to hire an agent yet, just because I think that, well, maybe I can still get this done on my own.
Okay. Other than thinking that you can still get this done on your own and not necessarily being ready to hire an agent yet, is there any other reason why we can't move forward today?
I mean, just that.
Okay, Joe, and help me understand what would have to happen for you to feel ready to hire an agent.
Well, you told me that maybe we could, you could get me more money, and I just, your commission. Can I use commission? Can I use numbers here, Denny?
Ken?
I just think 3%. That's a lot of money, and I don't see how you could put more money in my pocket than I could on my own.
Okay, Joe, what is your bottom line? What's the number that you absolutely have to walk away with?
850.
850. Okay, and you're interested in making money or saving money?
Well, I want to make the most money possible.
Okay, and what's the difference? You mentioned that the 3% was a little bit high. What would you feel comfortable paying an agent?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've had people ask me if they've told me they do it for 1.5.
Okay, 1.5%. And so you said 3 was a little too high. 1.5 you would be comfortable with. So we're really just talking about a difference of 1.5%. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay. And Joe, what do you do for a living?
I'm a bus driver.
You're a bus driver. Wonderful. And you don't dabble in real estate all the time. Is that right?
No.
And is it possible that having not dabbling in real estate and not maybe knowing everything that's going on in the market, is it possible that you may make an adjustment on your house that's 1 to 2% lower than it needs to be?
Time. So you've got all the Lincoln logs. I like
I'm
this.
trying.
You do. You got the little pieces, and we'll put a little sandpaper on it just really fast. I'm a little bit confused. What fee are you talking about? So Joe, are you willing to pay a fee if I bring you a buyer?
Well, sure.
Okay. And what are you willing to compensate me if I bring you a buyer?
Well, I've seen other, people charge, 2% or, around there for a buyer's agent.
So the fee, the commission conversation we have, a professional fee conversation is on the listing side, correct?
Yes.
See, I wasn't clear on that. Maybe you guys were clear on it. I wasn't clear.
I thought this was a for sale by owner listing.
Yeah, I thought so too. I think me and Joe were clear on that.
Yeah, but I knew it was a for sale by owner, but they're not all agreed to pay a buyer fee. That was never established. So I was not clear on that. Number one.
I was working on getting my fee covered before even talking about the buyers. I wasn't even talking about them.
I'm going to throw something out, then I'll let Matt comment. There's a lot of ways to go, but I had an idea this past week talking to someone that I coach and said, well, he had a seller that was going to pay 1% to the buyer's agent, and she's willing to pay 1% to the listing agent, right? And I said, and so here's my thought. What if we had a conversation with a seller like that, or a seller like you, Joe? Say, well, I'll tell you what, my fee And again, I'm gonna use, your fee is 3%, so I'm gonna just use your number. My fee is 3%. Why don't you let me, and I can handle everything for you. And that's what you're willing to pay. You know, basically, you said maybe 2.5 or 3%. So let's just say 3%. And let the buyer agent pay their own fee. And let me take the reins and help you get that the most money. So my point is, I coached the guy, if the seller's already willing to pay it, but it's split, take it and put it on your side as the listing agent and let the buyer worry about their own fee. What do you think of that, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, take it, as long as you've got a seller that needs to sell, like I said earlier, why are you selling? When do you need to sell by? What happens if you don't? Those are the three fundamentals. Like if I had a tattoo on my forehead or an epitaph on my gravestone, it would be, why are you selling? When do you need to sell? What happens if you don't? But I'm always analyzing that when I have these conversations. So if you've got a seller that needs to sell and they're willing to compensate you, especially with the real estate landscape and how it looks now, take it. And then set that precedence, like Denny's talked about before, of this is what may happen. Are we prepared for that? And as long as they're ready, willing, and able, and they're committed to the process, then do it. So yes. Two, on a side note, with Dr. Lauren's role play, the only different, so with for sale by owners, I never really have to get into the commission. Your commission is expensive. I'm, net more selling on my own. I have a system with my for sale by owners. The conversation's very simple because it's around creating doubt. Because they're for sale right now on their own and they haven't sold. So when they're hung up on commission, thinking that they're going to net less money, I ask them right away, well, how many full price offers have you had so far? And that's where I take the conversation. I don't ever have to dance. And I'm not saying this disparagingly towards Dr. Lauren. I'm not besmirching that conversation. Good job on you for bringing it to there. I just don't ever have to go there because I create that doubt of, great, so how long have you been on the market? Okay. How many full price offers in writing, and I say it with emphasis, in writing, have you received? Can you lose something you never had?
Can someone role play that with Matt?
I'll role play that. I'm actually interested where you would go after that, Matt.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how did you tee up that conversation? I don't remember. Dr. Lauren, how did you start that? Because I want to start it how you started it and then take it.
Well, the only thing I said was, after everything we've gone over today, are you ready to move forward with me? And then he presented his objection.
Okay. You're awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. So Joe, based off of everything we've gone over today, do you feel that I'm the right agent to help you sell your house?
You're great, Matt. It's just I'm not sure that I'm ready to hire you. I think I can still get this done on my own.
Gotcha. What makes you say that?
Well, my brother, he sold his house in Minnesota this way, saved a bunch of money, and it wasn't that hard.
Okay. When you say that he saved a bunch of money, how did he determine that?
Good job.
Well, he didn't have to hire an agent, so he didn't have to pay any commissions.
Okay, right. But so no commissions were paid, but how certain are you that he sold the home for the most amount of money?
Well, it sold, and he felt good about it. I don't know the market out there.
Right. So we're just assuming that he sold it for the most that he could, and an agent wasn't involved, so maybe he saved some money.
Well, yeah. I mean, what is it, like 6%? That's a lot.
Right. Could it be possible that he might have left some money on the table if he didn't sell it for the most?
Well, I don't even know how we determine that.
Right. Well, this is a similar situation. How many full price offers have you had since you've had your home on the market in writing?
Well, I had one guy who submitted and then took it back the first week, and that's it.
Right, but was it full price or over?
Which way do you want to go?
Was it full price? Was it full price or over?
Yes, it was.
It was full price. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. But it didn't close, right?
No, he rescinded it. They said that they needed the house was too big.
So can I ask you a really crazy question, and you just be very directed when you answer it?
Mhm.
Can you lose something you never had?
Well, I guess not.
Right, because it didn't get to the closing table. You know, that it's what's the old phrase? It's almost with hand grenades and horseshoes or something like that. Anyway, I digress. So, Joe, did you know that 92% of for sale by owners fail to make it to the closing table?
I didn't.
Okay, do you know why?
No.
Well, just like that fella rescinded his offer, 92% of for sale by owners fail to make it to the closing table because there's not one person there orchestrating everything that has to happen to sell the property. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Also, if you're a for sale by owner buyer and you're going to make an offer on a for sale by owner property, what's the first thing you're going to do when you write that offer to the seller?
I don't know. Probably show my proof of funds.
Well, right, but if you're the dollar amount wise, what are you going to offer?
Well, I don't know.
You're shopping for sale by owner. You're looking to get a good deal. You're looking to save some money, right?
Well, yeah, but I can't offend the guy, you know.
Right. With most for sale by owner buyers, they're going to offer at least 6% less because they're trying to save the exact same commission you are by selling for sale by owner. Make sense?
Okay.
And additionally, and most importantly, so you got a family, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about safety for a second. Can you put a dollar amount on your family safety for me?
Well, no, definitely not.
1%? 2%?
Oh,
3%?
they're my everything. You know, I need
Right.
to take care of them.
Yeah, you would, there's no amount of money that you would be willing to risk to lose them, right?
Correct.
So let's say that you get a phone call 8 o'clock on Friday night. You can't show it. You're not here. Okay, you're not here. It's your wife and your kids at home. And it's a buyer and he says, I'm flying out of town tomorrow night and I'm leaving. I'm flying out of town tomorrow morning. I'm paying cash and I need to see your house tonight. What do you do?
Well, geez, I don't know. I guess I'd see if I can get a babysitter, put the kids somewhere. I'll show the house.
But you're not there. You can't.
Oh, yeah, I guess I couldn't then.
So you in a normal case, you'd miss out on that showing, right?
Yeah.
If there were a way to ensure that that buyer was pre-qualified, real, and was not going to harm your family, would you want to do it?
Well, yeah, if it meant me getting it sold.
Okay, great. So was there anything else preventing us from getting started today?
There you go. Any comments, guys?
And that there are more pieces to that, and it's not as long sometimes. I can knock that out in like 3 minutes, but I just gave you the whole pie, most of it. There's one more piece that I didn't mention in there, but I always just explain to them, hey, can you lose anything you never had? No. Okay, you never had any full price offers, right? Nope, I haven't. Okay. 92% of for sale by owners fail to make it to the closing table. Okay, and there's a few reasons why. One is there's not one person there to orchestrate everything that has to happen to get your home sold. 90% of the work happens after the contract. That's where most of them fail. Okay. Second thing, if for sale by owners statistically attract the worst of the worst buyers. They're buyers that aren't pre-qualified, they can't qualify, they have homes to sell, and guess what? They're going to make you an offer contingent upon their house, and when they get home, guess how they're going to try to sell it too? They're going to try to sell it for sale by owner. And when they write you the offer, guess what else they're going to try to do? They're trying to save the same commission you are by selling for sale by owner. So they're going to offer you a minimum, Joe, of 6% less because they want to save that same commission.
So,
But then I think, but most importantly, let's talk about safety for a second. Can you please put a number on your wife and children's lives for me?
keep in mind though, they're probably, if you're there talking, they're probably already willing to pay a buyer's agent's fee, so you're not even talking about a full fee. You're
Right.
talking about half a fee.
Right.
It compounds it. So let's.
That's why I say 1%. And guys, I know that's a really, like, you probably got goosebumps, or like, you know, your hair stood up on your neck because you thought like, oh, Matthew being risque again. This is serious stuff. Because I asked them, did you know that realtors are being raped and killed in open houses and just showing property? I asked them, and I said, great, so let's talk about safety. You got a buyer that calls you 8 o'clock at night. He needs to see the house. He's flying out of town tomorrow and he's paying cash. Your wife and kids are at home. You can't show it. You're working the night shift. How do we get that buyer in the property? And if I could ensure that we got them in, they were pre-qualified, they weren't going to harm your family, and we can net more money than you get selling on your own, would you want the help?
So thank you, Matt. All right, so Tanner, you're up.
Okay, Danny. So you brought it up earlier, and I really appreciate that. So I had a listing appointment with an investor. So he called me. He's like, Tanner, I'm offering 4% for the listing, but when I got there, he was like, I want to give you 2%, and I want to offer 2% to the buyer's agent. We did not have an agreement, so I did not take the listing because, you know, I don't know, but you know, so I couldn't really kind of, you know, I don't know. I just couldn't have him agree to at least, you know, compensate me 0.5% more because I'll be representing him, and it just went away.
So he's an investor. What does that mean?
So he flipped the property, and you know, he's interested in listing. It was in my neighborhood. I approached him over the phone when I set the appointment. He told me directly, he goes, listen, I'm paying out 4%, just letting you know. So if you come with that 6% conversations, don't even approach me.
I got it. That's it. But I ask you, what do you mean he's an investor?
So he buys and flips properties. That's what he does.
The reason I'm asking the question, there's a lot of people, we use the term investor on people that aren't investors. They have a rental property. That
Right.
doesn't mean investor, it means they have an investment property.
Right.
That's different than a dealer who does
Right.
a lot of it, and it's not unusual. And I heard this today on my MAPS call. Gary Keller was talking to someone, and this is what he said. There's a buyer's box. And he's even, Gary Keller is teaching, if you have going to be an investor in property, you should have a buyer's box. I mean, it's got to fit inside this box. It's,
Yep.
you know, 10 times rent, 3-2, whatever. So I only asked that question before you go any deeper. Too many agents, particularly newer agents, use the term investor too loosely, and they waste a lot of time. Believe me, you do not need investors if you find an investment worthy property. You do not need them, because money is everywhere. So does everybody understand that?
Yep.
Yeah.
If I can jump on your coattails, Denny, investor is not a ubiquitous term, guys. It's meaning it doesn't apply to everybody that owns one house or more. Okay, and a lot of people, so when Denny's talking about a buyer box, this is actually that's an investor term. You know, you're talking to somebody that talks to investors, real people like me that look for properties regularly. Okay, the buyer box here's the thing, and I'm trying not to go too far. Every time I know everybody on here has talked to somebody that says, hey, you see any good deals, send them my way. Well, guess what? My next question is, define that good deal for me. If they can't define it, I end the call right then. Nice, politely, but they're not an investor, because an investor that is a true investor has a buyer box that says, I only buy 3 2s with this in this area, so they know exactly what they're looking for. They can qualify and quantify that deal.
Right, they have a widget, it's 10 times rent, whatever.
Right.
So, and so rather than, I'm not sure, typically, anything's possible. So we can have the conversation with a homeowner, but somebody who does it professionally as an investor, and that's their model, that's another word for buyer's box, 2 and 2. I don't know if you're gonna move them on that, because they probably have done that a number of times, and they will find another agent that will do that. So you're dealing with someone who's more of a professional. Right.
Got it. What if just like, say like a regular seller just wants to do that, or for sale by owner?
There you go. Well, then we can have that conversation then. All right. So what are we doing? A 2 and 2.
2 and
Right.
2.
So then handle it. How would you handle it, Tanner? Go. I'll be that Huckleberry.
Okay, so other than the fee, obviously I would isolate. Is there anything else? And then
No, I think it's fair. I think it's fair. 2 and 2.
so Denny, help me understand, like, how did you come up with this 2 and 2?
Well, I think that, I think it's fair. It's competitive, and that's in my budget.
And you want me to represent you, correct? Like, you want me to the agent that looks after you, after all.
I think I can probably find 50 agents in a matter of a couple of days that'll do it for 2%. And then 2% for buyer's agent.
I mean, how does that really benefit you? I'm just trying to understand the logic behind it.
Well, I think you're spending too much time asking me about money. It's kind of like, if I can buy gas for 25 cents cheaper, you don't have to ask me 15 questions why I want to do that.
Well, Denny, off the plate, that's the thing. I got stuck the same way. I couldn't really handle it. That's why I put it up.
All right, so let me help you out here. So we've already heard it on today, so I understand 2 and 2. So let me ask you: is your motivation to save money or make money?
Make money.
Okay, and so then if you hire the right agent that makes you more money, is the fee seemingly irrelevant?
Yeah, we can say that.
Okay, and so, for example, when you hire an agent, are you going to hire them based on their fee or based on their skill in performance? Maybe their skill in negotiating a good offer for you. Would that be important?
Well, yes, but I just want to be fair, Danny. I know buyer's agents are important too. So,
well, I'm not going to make this a long role play, but I'm going to tell you that there's 2 ways I would go. Number one, say we're talking about 1%. Now, so if you hired the wrong agent and there's 3 points of negotiation, do you think that agent's going to look out for you for the 1% that it will cost you more than 1%?
Mm-hmm.
I could go down that. You've heard that before. That's slicing the bologna. I'm going to use the other one that I used today. How would you like? So why don't we do this? How would you like your cake and eat it too, Tanner?
how I would love it.
My fee is 3. Me and Joe work as a team. My fee is 3. You can hire the best. I'll represent you. Work on making you the most money. And let's set aside 1% for the buyer agent fee. And there we go. Or my fee is 4. And the buyer can pay their own fee. My point is this, guys. I don't think it puts our sellers at harm. When we're negotiating with them for our fee, you get your fee. And what we should be spending more time on recon and moving forward, no judgment on this, is how you have conversations with buyers who we get them to pay the fee. Because what's happening is we're still stuck in the past.
Right.
We're not used to selling our services, our value proposition to the buyer. But if you're talking to a seller, by golly, it's not my responsibility to get a commission for the buyer's agent.
I don't want to.
I don't need it. I don't need them, guys. I do not need them. You know what I'm saying?
If I were an attorney and excuse my French, Denny, if I sued your ass, I don't care if I'm not going to negotiate to ensure your attorney gets paid. Meaning I'm suing you, Denny. I don't care if your attorney gets paid.
And this is why I love this level of role play. You got these blank looks in your face. Listen, if you have a well-priced listing, do you need anyone else to sell it? In fact, you hope they don't.
Yep. I'm making I give my clients a 1% discount, guys. I got a listing out in Arcadia, Florida, which is the epitome of BSE.
Yeah, but it's a cool area.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area. It's like a time capsule. I love Arcadia, but it's the middle of nowhere. I've had no less. It's a great property, 10 acres, private pool, 3-bed, 2-bath house for $500,000, which is a really good opportunity for this area. I've had no less than 15 buyers go to the house and talk to the seller directly. And because they're all good old boys out there, salt of the earth people. I'm double siding it right now with one of those buyers. So to Denny's point, I'm giving my client a discount. I'm charging 5%. I charge 6%. I got both sides of that, or I negotiated 6%. I'm giving him a 1% discount because we found the buyer. But I don't need the buyer's agents. I had other offers. So we got to stop worrying about the semantics of, got to get this for the buyer's agent. And no, you price that property properly. There's a tongue twister. You're never going to have to talk to another buyer's agent again.
Now, one of the things you're going to have to make sure you do, though, is have a conversation with the seller. Well, if you have a good conversation with your buyer, they're representing to take to your listing, that's groovy, right? However, you got to make sure you have a conversation with your listing. What if you bring the buyer? What is it? Matt has a program. He offers them an incentive, which is awesome. So Barnabas, you're up. What are we doing?
I had so this is one someone asked about. I had a unrepresented buyer come into an open house that I was hosting, and she loved the house, but after looking at the property taxes, she realized they were a little higher than what she wanted to pay. Now, all things considered, she's still paying less than the current property. So her reason for moving was she wanted to get out of her higher property tax area into a lower property tax, but it wasn't as low as she was hoping.
And
I mean, that's just, I mean, I could help her keep searching for other properties, but it seemed like this is a really good fit for her. So basically that's the thing, is she's like, I was heartbroken.
why? Why are you heartbroken?
Because I wanted to move into the property, and I'm afraid that the taxes are going to go up again, and it's going to be just like where I'm living now.
Okay, so all right, so let me just handle this. You're the buyer then, right?
Right.
Okay, so where do you want to look next?
Well, we can look closer to where I work.
Okay. And by the way, is that in the same county?
Yes, it's in Franklin County.
Okay. So I'm kind of curious if you're worried about this house and taxes going up and the house closer to work, will the taxes go up there?
Well, they could, but they're $4,000 a year as opposed to $6,000 a year, which is the property I'd want to buy initially.
What seems to be they're less because it's probably assessed for less value. So are we going down in budget?
Oh no, actually the other property that's close to my work is $50,000 more than the house I was just looking at.
So my question is, why do you care? Let them buy closer to work.
That's definitely an option. we'll see how that plays out.
No, what am I missing?
Are they worried about taxes being more expensive?
Yeah, she was worried about her prior property taxes. So I mean, I can see.
Hold on, her prior property taxes. So the property she's in.
So the property she's in is 7,600. The one she'd be moving to if she goes to this open house would be 6,000, but she wants to get something under 4,000. So I can definitely help her search. I'm just afraid that what I'm afraid will happen is that she's going to look at all these houses. They're not going to have everything she wants, like the current house that she was looking at.
Well, but those at least in Florida, Barnabas, Denny and I could probably only speak for Florida. What you're saying doesn't correlate, because if she's got a house with $7,500 in taxes right now, and she's going to buy another one closer to work, and it's $50,000 more expensive or it's more expensive than what she has or whatever. The second that you buy the property, real estate taxes are paid in arrears. So next year, when her taxes are reassessed, because she bought the property for more money, her taxes are just going to be just as expensive. So why are we selling other than taxes? That's what I would ask her. What's more important to you, taxes or X?
Well, but here's the thing, I don't understand, you guys. Is the house you wanted to buy your listing?
The house she wants to buy is not, I'm not selling it. I was hosting the open house.
But why, my question is, why are you vested in her wanting to buy that one? You want her to buy it more than she wants to buy it. To me, you'll lose your hair over that, dude.
That's fair. I'll see what she wants to go. She just seemed like she was really in love with it, and I was like, oh, cool, we can write an offer on this. And then she's like, well, I don't know, maybe the property tax are too high. Let's keep looking. And
let me give you a rule. They always must want to buy or sell more than you want them to.
Right.
Okay.
Got it?
And one more rule. When they buy the home, if they're buying, unless it's the market crash of 04 through 08, they're probably buying it for more than the previous owner, or they're buying it for a little bit less than the previous owner, in which cases their taxes are going to be about the same or more.
Okay. Yeah, they seem to vary a lot here in Columbus, Ohio. So you could have multiple different ranges based on the school districts and stuff like that for what the property tax will be.
Right, because the millage, you pay taxes based on millage rate. Yeah, and I won't go into that, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. I understand.
All right, Joe, your hand's up. And I know you got to play a little bit. Did you get to role play as an agent yet?
I did not, no.
All right, what are we doing? We got time for a couple more. Let's go, guys.
Let's do another for sale by owner then.
Oh,
It's at the table, Denny. Come on, this is what you love.
I love this. Okay. All right. All right. Then I'm going to go to David. David, come. If you're eating, can you come off mute, David? All right. You're the for sale by owner. You're at the table. He's giving you a listing presentation. Are you ready to move forward, David? And you say what?
What's your fee?
So we broke her out at 3%. Can I ask what's important about the fee?
Well, I really feel
hang on a minute. Why don't you answer the question and not be defensive about it? I mean, asking a price is a normal question. Why don't you just say my fee is this?
Sure.
Because, I mean, you get me? Because it's almost like you're ready for him to slap you.
Yep, I charge 6% for my services, David. What other questions can I answer for you about selling before we get started?
Yeah, does that make more sense? So go right there, Joe.
Yep, we charge 3%, David.
Joe, that seems kind of high.
Okay. What did you have in mind to pay a listing agent to sell your house?
Well, in Europe, they charge 1%. So I'm okay with 1%.
Okay. David, we're here in Massachusetts. Have you found any other agents willing to charge you 1% to sell your house?
I haven't looked around yet.
Okay. Am I your first interview?
You are?
Okay. So how many more agents were you planning on interviewing before you pick one?
So I'm gonna pause just for a second. So, and again, keep your train of thought, but this is kind of like, I'm John Gruden here doing a teleprompter.
Mhm.
You're going into the interview cycle. Why don't you drill down on the fee issue if that's your concern? Well, you're going down a different road.
Outside of that fee, David, what did you feel I was the right agent to help you?
Yeah, I called you because I felt that you're knowledgeable of the area. So that's why I reached out to you, Joe.
Okay. Well, if all right, I'm stuck here. I got thrown off.
That's all right. That's all right. All right. I appreciate, Dave, I appreciate you in still having inherent trust in me, that you don't know what that means to me. It took me a long time to build this reputation. Just out of curiosity, what's been your experience? Well, you mentioned in Europe, they pay 1%. Unfortunately, we're not there. Love to help you with that. But let me ask you this. What's most important to you about the selling this home at the end of the day? Is it what you net, or is it what I charge?
Well, I really need to be in Tennessee by the beginning of January.
Okay, great. And what happens if you're not in Tennessee by the beginning of January?
Then I have to carry 2 mortgages because I'm buying a home there and I'm starting my job.
Okay, so it sounds pretty important to sell this house.
Absolutely.
All right, are you interested or are you committed?
I'm committed.
Okay, what's most important to you? What I charge or what you net?
What I net.
Okay, if I can net you this amount of money right here, you want this amount of money, by the way. If I can net you this amount of money right here, would you be ready to hire me today?
Yes.
So I'm gonna
Okay.
push back. Hang on a minute. Hang on, Matt. So now you put your fingerprints on the net.
Yeah, that's true. But unfortunately, Denny, while I try to be your disciple to the best of my ability, I do take net sheets with me.
There's nothing wrong with the net sheet. It's how you present it. So if you want to be my disciple, just don't be Judas, okay?
I get it. Thank you. But okay, so but I would have done kind of the same thing. So what I would have said is, hey, David, so if I were able to net you what you needed to net, so we won't even talk about the number. If I were able to net you a dollar amount that you felt that you needed to net, okay, and my fee were included in that, would there be any reason you wouldn't want to hire me right now?
The only change I would say for a Dennyism, if the market will deliver this number. Now, again, I'm going to the market. I'm taking me out of it.
Right.
Just a small point, not a major point. It's
right.
Whether you want a long putter or a short putter.
Right.
However, the challenge is going to be, well, if I can net you this, that's no different than like saying, well, this is what it's going to sell for. So, and they may not be realistic. And Matt is in my market where we're seeing 50 to 60% of home sellers reducing prices every week.
But that's also, oh, sorry, not to then now take my foot out of my mouth. That's why I also asked it, are you interested or committed?
I like that question.
Yep, because if I know, because here's Denny, you'll love this. You know where Nokomis is. Nokomis, a listing, February 2023, sold for $340. I've got the same product right now, same complex right now, similar condition, listed for $220, and it's about to go contract at $210.
There you go.
So, but she's committed, just like David. She said, I don't want to write $2,000 checks every single month. You interested or are you committed?
So we kind of went several different subjects.
shouldn't the agent be focusing on, since it's a for sale by owner, that they're a professional and that not necessarily what the net is, but that they can ensure that their services will provide a net higher than if they do it by themselves?
You missed the conversation we had at the beginning, Dave. I know you hopped on a little bit later, but yeah, that's very much how I handled it, was creating the doubt of you haven't sold it on your own yet.
Yeah.
And yes, so to your point, yes, we already did.
Gotcha.
Well, really quick for the last minute, David and I've had this conversation already. The interesting thing, if you're talking to a buy owner and they're on the market for some time, a couple of weeks and whatever, and I learned today, I like what Matt had to say, how many full price offers have you had versus how many offers have you had? What is the seller, as we wrap up, I want to hear a couple of ahas, but don't hang up yet. I'm going to give you one more point. The seller is going to be in a pickle if they're on the market now, been on the market 14 days or more, and they've not had an offer, it's not sold. What are they facing, you guys?
Price reduction.
Yes, they are. And if they're going to reduce it, is it possible they can reduce it 8% or more than they need to?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, they're trying to say the sellers are attempting to save 2 or 3%. And this is the one where I told David, because I had the role play with him, get the 1% they want to pay the buyer, move it to the listing side. Then you're only talking about your fee, in this case was 3%, one more percent, and let the buyer's agent fight for their own money.
Yep. And if I can jump in real quick, Denny talking about people overcorrecting their home value, their prices. There are agents in our marketplace, and I'm sure Denny can attest to this. They coach people that it's $25,000, $50,000 increments. You might only have to go $10,000 to get in the right notch. So if a seller really doesn't know how to reposition and they ask their cousin Samantha that just got her license, and her cousin Samantha says, "Oh, reduce it by 50," but really she only needed 10. Do you see the point?
And as I let you go, if you look online, there's agents out there and advice. It's not a dollar amount. You should lower it 10%.
Right.
It may not be 10%, may not be the number. And that percentage doesn't work on all price ranges, you guys. That's why I don't like that. I don't like that comment. So tell me what you learned. What did you learn today that was kind of like, that was worth it?
Who is the Sherry that reached out to me directly? Because there's 4 of you in here.
Matt, can I ask you if they said that they were, when you asked that, when they were committed, if they answered the other way, how you respond to that?
Oh yeah. If I ask them, hey, are you interested or committed? Oh, I'm interested if I can get this price. And
Okay.
what happens if you don't?
All right.
Oh, I would just keep it. Okay, David, is keeping the home an option?
Yeah. No, I get it.
Right. Yep. So, but here's the thing, that I asked that because I'm not attached to the answer. I want to ask the hard question. I want them to tell me they're interested, not committed. Because then, hey, thank you guys. You saved me my most precious asset, which is my time.
Yeah.
But really quickly, who is the Sherry that reached out to me in private message in here? A new agent? Anyway, just email me. I don't know if you got the message. Somebody reached out to me privately, Denny, and asked if I could talk to him. So just email me if you got that message.
Yeah, but aren't you married?
Yes. She's probably in the other room right now.
Well, put your email address in there.
Yeah. Well, I sent it. Hold on. At gmail.com. There you go. Yeah, I sent it to them directly. I guess they might have left.
All right, you guys. Thanks so much. Enjoy your Friday.
Thanks, guys.
Knuckle bump. Be careful out there.